The second session of the 2020 Ohio Beef Cow-Calf Workshop was hosted by the Ohio State University Extension Beef Team on February 13th at Claylick Run Farm near Newark, Ohio. During the second session, Dr. Les Anderson, Beef Extension Professor at the University of Kentucky, presented on reproduction efficiencies in the cow herd, including getting cows rebred in a timely fashion, whether utilizing artificial insemination or the natural service of herd bulls. This is Dr. Anderson's presentation.
Pleasure to be up here again. For those of you that don't know me, I grew up in Missouri, got my PhD just down the road there at Ohio State, and actually used to work at Master Fair a little bit, I guess just down the road. I pulled in and told Al, I said, man, this looks a lot like Master Fair. And he says, you're just 15 minutes away. And just another connection, Brett Lehman, that a dairyman here, not too far away. He worked for me when I was here. And so it's fun to be back up here and fun to be in Ohio. My job in Kentucky is I'm the reproductive management specialist. And so we're going to have a real focus on reproductive management techniques to improve the reproductive ability of the cow herd. And not too sure if cattle prices are higher up here than what they are down in Kentucky, but this is pretty much what I get a lot for the last couple of years right here. Okay? Doc, I got to make a little bit more money. We are in the down period of the cycle. Of course, the market goes up and down all the time. I wish we were here. You know, I wish we were back here. I told Alan yesterday I would update the slides, but I didn't get the market updates. But in Kentucky right now, we're looking at about $1.38 average steer and heifer price for a 5 to 5.5 weight calf. Okay, cows have been so cheap this fall. I didn't even recommend folks to sell open ones, because we can afford to put another $100 worth of feed in them rascals and not have to turn them over. But anyway, this is something that we really don't have to belabor. We all know we're trying to scratch revenue together. And one of the main market thoughts you need in a low market economy is that we've got to get more efficient. Okay? We have to get more efficient, and we really just need to get more efficient just to break even right now, right? Okay, and if we get efficient now, then we'll be able to maintain or even amplify our profit potential when the market turns. So I want you to focus on things that we can control right now. And certainly, we can control our costs to a degree, right? Our feed and our forage. We can control our quality, and we'll talk a little bit tonight today about our genetics and our health programs. What we're going to focus on, though, is we're going to focus on our quantity. How many calves we can get our cows to have and how big those calves can be. And then marketing plan is another thing. And it's actually impacted by repro, and we'll talk about that interaction here in a little bit. So more. Right now we need more income, right? I mean, it's a struggle to get the bills paid. We need more calves. We need more weight. We need more value, okay? But we're really going to work, and we really want to focus on being efficient. And in particular, at the end of today's discussion, we'll talk about some genetic and overall program efficiencies that controlling cow size and just show you a lot of data from some farms there in Kentucky where we worked on that. Just to remind everybody what efficiency is, it's effective operation as measured by a comparison of production with costs, okay? Costs in energy, costs in time, costs in money, all three things that are really important to most cattlemen, particularly if you're not a full-time cattleman. What the problem is right now is, you know, honestly, we can't afford to waste any money, right? We can't afford to waste too much feed. With our open cows, we can't afford to feed inefficient cows. Inefficient cows are those that do not calve every 365 days. And I give them a little bit of a break. Okay? I'd love to have a calf out of them every 365 plus or minus 30 days. As you'll see when we get into the data, every single day longer costs you money. Okay, and if it gets significantly longer, it really is going to cost you a pile of money. Our first step in gaining efficiency in our operation is to control reproduction. And so as the reproductive specialist, you would expect me to say that, right? I mean, I got to keep my job. Okay? That's how I get paid. The problem with controlling reproduction is it's the end point. It's the roof. It's not the foundation. Every single thing that we do in the cattle operation impacts their ability to rebreed. I wish all I had to say, Alan, was feed them more. That'd be easier. Or let's supplement. Because these nutrition guys got it easy. Okay? Right. Just feed them a little bit more. I wish I had one thing I could say, but every single thing in your operation impacts the ability of your cows to reproduce. We're going to spend a little bit of time looking at a body condition score, which is as much of the nutrition as I'm really going to cover, but your ability to monitor and record body condition score is the primary management tool you need to incorporate if you want to improve the reproducibility of your cow. Okay? How much does it cost you to do a body condition score? Nothing. Okay? According to the National Animal Health Monitoring Survey, of course, we got a new one coming out pretty quick. This one was back in 2007. Less than 15% of producers actually did body condition scores. And it doesn't cost us a thing. Well, that's not true. It does cost you. It costs you pregnancies. It costs you time. It costs you money. Okay? To write it. But not only do we need to be accurate at evaluating it, we got to write it down, because if you don't write it down, it's not a measurement. If it's not a measurement, you're not going to improve it. Okay? So let's write it down. We want to start at weaning. Okay? So if you're spring calving, that's over, right? Okay? If you're fall calving, we're moving into that area here in the next couple months. It's really important at calving, and we'll go back there and do some body condition scores in a little bit. We got to get those rascals to 5, to a body condition score 5. Now, I know it's a fairly big dairy area, and in the beef world, we go 1 to 9, not 1 to 5. Okay? And so body condition score 5 for us is you get enough fat that the ribs are covered. Okay? We have no sharpness over the hooks, no sharpness over the pins, no sharpness at all over in the shoulders or over the spine. Okay? I prefer them to calve at a body condition score 6, which has got a little bit of flesh on them. Okay, we're starting to pone up just a touch back around that tail head. Okay, lots of data that demonstrate the economic advantage, the reproductive management advantage of calving at 6 versus calving at 5. Now, wait a minute. If I feed them before they calve, they're going to have bigger calves. No. Okay? Actually, I mean, one of the old wives' tales, or maybe I should say old farmers' tales instead of a wives' tale, is we need to cut the feet off of them rascals right before the calve to keep that birth weight down. Tons of data. Over 10 research articles, some of them right here at Ohio State, that demonstrate that if you limit nutrition at calving, you increase calving problems, you increase calf death loss, and you delay rebreeding. Okay, so you at least want to maintain, not lose. Okay, so wean them off, feed them to calve at 6, and do the best you can to maintain that body condition score through the breeding season. Of course, that's going to require some your feed analysis and ration balancing, and that's really not the point of our program today. I will recommend that you do a pretty intense evaluation of your mineral program. Copper and selenium in particular are 2 trace minerals that drastically impact the ability of your cows to rebreed. Data at UK is very clear that we need at least half of the copper and selenium in your free choice mineral to be of the organic form. So in other words, copper lysine, Cellplex, and the organic forms, because they're more readily available and more usable than the typical inorganic forms. Our cattle got to be healthy. Okay, this is one thing that drives me insane. I've got about 150 farms on our farm program. And when we first come into a farm and we evaluate that farm, and you'll see data from some of the stuff we do, you know, well, we've been having quite a few abortions. Really. What do you vaccinate with? Oh, we don't vaccinate the cows. Okay? Folks in Kentucky don't realize that if you got deer, you're going to have abortions. Deer are a vector for lepto. Deer are a vector for BVD. Not any deer up here, right, Al? Nope. Okay? So I don't really have to say this to you guys, all right? But the veterinarians, okay, the disease specialists, the researchers, have demonstrated that all an infected, a BVD-infected female has to do is urinate 1 milliliter of BVD-infected urine into an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and another cow drink 5 mils. Now think of your syringes. 1 mil is a dang small syringe, right? 5 mils ain't much bigger. All she's got to do is drink 5 mils out of that Olympic-sized swimming pool for her to get infected. Okay? So you got a deer urinating in the creek. You got a deer urinating in the pond. You got a deer urinating in a, we probably don't have any mud puddles around anymore. Okay? But a deer urinating in the mud puddle and a cow happens to drink out of it. Right? 5 mils. That's all she's got to drink. She's infected. It can induce abortion. Lepto, BVD are our two biggest culprits. Okay, we've got to use modified live if we want our cattle adequately protected. And then strategic deworming. Let's deworm those thin and those young cows. Genetics, we're going to hammer on genetics. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, the Bovishield Gold is what I'm talking about. Yep, absolutely. Or one of the true modified live products. What we love to do, what we recommend is as soon as you wean those heifer calves, okay, hit them with modified live. Come back, Bovishield Gold. Or one of the other good modified live products. Come back 45 days before you breed them. Okay, so they go through your development. You select them for replacements. 45 days before you breed them, hit them with that modified live again. And then you can use the killed viruses even when they're pregnant, and then come back right after they calve and prepare for the next year and do modified live again if you want. In Kentucky, that's our best way to get protection against abortions. 30, yeah, no closer than 30 days. But for the heifers, since we don't have to worry about anything, let's go ahead and go 45 days in. But you got a cow that's just calved or getting ready to calve. I mean, you know, that 30-day window is pretty tough every once in a while to get in. Yep. If we get it too much closer than 30 days, we get IBR in the follicle, and that reduces conception rate. Yes, sir. Sometimes they abort. If they're naive, if they've never seen the modified live, you can kick out some abortions. Yep. Yep. So great questions. So the easiest way to get this done, the problem with the modified live is the naive cattle. Okay, cattle have never seen it. And so if we start our immune system when we wean a heifer. Okay, so we wean that heifer. And we hit her with modified live, and we come back, we take her through our development process. Okay? We hit her with modified live again before her first breeding season. Then she's not naive. And then you can vaccinate her when she's pregnant, and it won't abort her. You can vaccinate her up to 30 days before the breeding season after she's calved, and you won't have any issues at all because she's not naive. We ran into this in the farm program where we were coming into cattle that we really didn't know what was going on with them. And we started off with killed viruses, and we were preg checking, and we were still getting abortions. And so we started the modified live when we started our heifer selection issues, and that basically didn't eliminate it, but it drastically reduced our incidence of abortion. So in most situations, let's start it when we wean that heifer, that group of heifers that we're going to choose as replacements, okay? And then once we get them exposed to modified live, it's a lot easier to incorporate it without risk of abortion. We usually give it right at weaning or right after weaning to help protect them from respiratory issues, then come back later to protect them against the abortion. If a cow is not protected and she's exposed to the live virus between day 40 and 120 of pregnancy, then that'll infect the calf. That can infect the calf. Doesn't always infect the calf. Great questions. Any other questions? We're going to spend some time on genetics at the end when we talk about creating efficient cows. Main thing you can do is crossbreed. Okay? I don't care what any geneticist tells you. The reason to crossbreed is a female, not steer. You get 8% increase in weaning weight in a steer. You get a 24% increase in productivity in the crossbred female. 24%. They go through puberty earlier. They get bred earlier. And if they get bred earlier in their first year, they're going to calve earlier and have an opportunity to be a more productive cow. So absolutely implement crossbreeding if you want to maximize reproductive potential. And then, of course, find breeds that complement your feed resources and market. Up here, y'all probably feed a little bit more than some of our folks do down there. Got a little bit more silage. Most likely, y'all can handle a little bigger cow because of your feed resources. It might not be in every situation, okay? But try to find breeds that complement what you have, okay? What we're really going to spend most of our time on, though, is our reproductive management tools and thought processes that will improve the reproductive ability of our cows. We're going to talk about establishing a controlled calving season. Now, I know it doesn't happen in Ohio, but down in Kentucky, a lot of our folks run bulls year-round. Doesn't happen here, Dean, right? But down in Kentucky, it happens all the time, okay? So we're going to talk about that and establishing a controlled calving season, give you some examples or two. A great fall-spring combination really works for a lot of folks. We're going to talk about controlling estrus, both for natural service and AI, and we're not really going to talk about those last two. So three main questions that we're going to address. Can we get her pregnant? Can we get her to wean a calf? And can we get her to calve when it makes us money? Okay? You say, well, what are you talking about? If a cow calves in late June, July, or early August in Kentucky, awful damn hard to make money off that calf. Pardon my French. Awfully hard to make money off that calf. They don't grow worth the hoot. Okay? I hate July calving cows. I mean, I absolutely hate them. They are the bane of my existence. Okay? Because we lose our butts on them. So can we get them to calve when we want them to? We'll run through some data, but you'll see the importance of that controlling the breeding and calving season and getting those cows to calve when we want them to calve. You'll see the importance of that as we go through. One of the main things that we spend a lot of time talking about, because again, about 70% of the folks in Kentucky don't run a controlled calving season, is we give them the data, hopefully, to show them the amount of money that they're potentially losing by doing that. Okay, now, I'm going to go through this data set real quick. I'm an animal scientist, so as an animal scientist, I'm going to have biases about animal science, right? Also, I grew up on a large farm. We had 300, 350 cows, and we row cropped. I've managed 4 farms. First farm I managed right outside of, after I moved away from the house. We had calves born every month of the year. I had 2 other jobs. I was married, and I grew up in a culture where we watched cows calved because it was important to us. That's the way my dad raised me. And I'll tell you what, I developed an intense bias. I happened to go out there and watch those doggone cows calve and deal with calving cows every flipping month of the year. Okay? I developed an intense bias about that. Okay? But that was just me. and my personal waste of time doing that all the time. This is an economic analysis of 400 ranches done by ag economists. The great thing about an ag economist is what's their only bias? Money. They don't care about time. They don't care about anything but, is it making you money? Are you losing money? There's been a long debate in the cattle industry on control versus year-round calving, extended calving. So what these guys did is they took those 394 ranches, 3 years. They just looked at how much product, how much input. Does it make them money? What costs? Okay? They found a positive relationship between the number of days of the calving season, so the length of the calving season, with the cost of production. So as the length of the calving season increased, the cost of production increased a nickel per 100 pound of calf. Okay? And the pounds of calf weaned per cow per year decreased. So to put those in numbers that we can wrap our head around, year-round calvers sold in those 394 ranches, 46 fewer pounds of calf per cow per year. And the cost of production was $14 a hundredweight more per cow per year. So that's the perfect situation, right? It costs us more to sell less. We're on target. Okay? Particularly when calves are $1.35, right? Arkansas, Tom Troxel took 6 farms, all year-round calvers, and over a period of time, most of the 5 of the 6 got it done in 3 years. One of them took 5. He transitioned from year-round to one 90-day season. And then what Tom did was he just collected the economic and production data to see if it made him money. Okay? Because if it doesn't make you money, don't worry about it, right? Before, long calving seasons. After, much shorter. Before, fewer cows calved in the window, but you would expect that, right? Because they're making them calve in the window. Here's one that I get a lot of argument about all the time, okay? Because I'm talking about, 70 to 90 day calving window. And the guys are like, well, if I just leave that bull in there, eventually they'll all get pregnant. That's not actually the case, okay? If we do a good job with our management, the same percentage of your mature cows are going to calve even if they're calving in a shorter window. And I'll show you even how to bump that up. Herd break-evens, that's dollars returned per pound to cover costs, 1/3 less. Out-of-pocket costs per animal unit. Okay, an animal unit is a 1,000-pound cow with a calf. Costs were half, income was twice. Okay, so it didn't cost them money to move to a controlled breeding and calving season, but made them money. Okay? Tons of data in the beef cattle world about the economics of calving. If you want to be profitable, your cows need to calve in less than a 90-day window. That's per breeding season, so you can have 2 of them, one in the fall, one in the spring. Let's keep them short. We need more than 90% of our cows to get pregnant. We need to lose less than 2% of our calves at death. That's from birth to weaning, okay? And greater than 88% of our cows need to wean a calf. That's our goal. Hopefully that's how we're headed, and that's what we're going to talk about. How do we get there? Well, we've got to understand what some of the problems are, figure out what tools we can use, and then use them. If you need a 1/2-inch wrench, you go get a 1/2-inch wrench, right? What tools we got in the box? And then how do we use them? And then stick to it, of course. Now, again, this is not typical of Ohio, but it is very typical of Kentucky. This is one of the farms that we started working with back in 2015, and this is what happened the first year, okay? I don't know what he was doing in February. I guess that was vacation month, right? He went down to Cancun or something. That's That's what that guy did. Calved over a 339-day window, 21 calves born out of 27. 5 of them died, sold 16, lost his butt. Okay, 315 pounds of calf wean per cow exposed, which is pretty pitiful when you're talking about efficiency. Okay? How's that guy marketing that set of calves? He's got 21 of them, right? How's he marketing them? He's selling 21 singles, right? I'm sorry? Well, 3 of them will be heifers and 3 of them will be steers, right? And so when you take that you take it to the stockyards, what are they going to do when you got 3 and 3? They're going to sell them all as singles, right? Why? They make more money. I mean, you know, so anyway, he's selling 21 singles, or she, in that case. This is where we got him to last year. Not too bad. On a calf, assess the status of every single cow. Okay? Now it's just repro, right? But I also look at everything else that's going on with that rascal. How old is she? All right, I don't know. We've had her for a while. Let's mouth her, okay? See how many teeth she's got left. Look at her feet and legs. Look at her udder. Okay? If we're running away from her as she comes out to shoot, that's a check. It's a mark against her. Okay? And then there's just some cows that just aren't any good. All right? And so as we go through some of the data, when we say a done cow falls into one of those categories. Open or just done. Bad, whatever you want, whatever term you want to use for. We're going to get right into that, man. We're going to spend so much time on that, you're going to want me to go back to the house. Okay? Estrus synchronization for natural services is where I have most of my herds until they get everything under control, and then we move towards AI. Okay? I'm going to give you lots of examples. I love examples. I like showing people what we do when we get out on farms because I think it becomes more real to everybody. 60 females on this farm. They calved March through August, weaned everything on November the 1st, no matter how old it was. I asked them why. They said that's just the way we've always done it, right? Which is normally the way things get done. 443 total average weaning weight pounds, 42 calves out of 60 females. That's what this dude's calving season looked like. He wanted to calve in March and April, but he just kind of had a trickle-down theory of calving here. Bulls were pulled on November 1st when he weaned the calves, and so that's why we had cows continuing to calve, because as long as the bull's in there, he'll get a few of them, right? When we break down his productivity, this is what was going on every 30 days in that herd. Okay, those calves born in March and April gained about 2.5 pounds a day. There was 15 of them. Weaning weight was 563 on average. That times that is that. Multiplied and add down. Multiply across, add down. 18,614. 310 pounds of calf wean per cow exposed, because remember we had 42 calves instead of 60. Okay? First thing that you got to realize, if you're trying to move to just a March and April calving season, there's nothing we can do for these 4 cows calving in July and August. Okay? So if you don't want a fall calving season, you give them trailer mycin. Okay? And we did that, and we replaced those 4 with 4 that were going to calve in March. Everything else, we fed MGA2 for 7 days before we turned the bull out. MGA, if you're not familiar with it, is a feed additive. Okay, it has hormone-like activity. It imitates a hormone that's produced in the body by the corpus luteum, and it makes the cow's brain think that she's cycling. Okay, And so then when we remove it from the feed, the brain sees the hormone goes away, and then she's thinking, oh, wait, I'm supposed to be coming in heat. And then they come in heat. Okay? So we've had MGA, and it was kind of a weird little deal because we got cows calving, and so we had breeding and calving pastures. And so about 3 weeks after a cow had calved, we'd start her on MGA, particularly in these late calving May and June cows. At this time, we did not, and it is still not controlled, but it is also not approved for use in beef cows. Approved for use in heifers. You can use it for synchronization of estrus and heifers. I haven't gotten in trouble yet, though. So, yet. Did that the first year, and that's what we got. All right, we started off at 42 now. We're at 53 calves. We started off with a 6 month. Now we're in 3. We started off with 15. We put 4 in, so we started off with 19. And now we got 35 cows calving in March. Now when we multiply over and add down, went from 18,614 to 27,856. Did it 2 years in a row. Added another calf. We still didn't make it perfect, but we added another calf. What we really did was shifted everything up. Okay? 46 calves born in March, 8 born in April. 29,874 pounds. Pounds of calf wean per cow exposed went up almost 200 pounds. Our efficiencies increase was pretty dramatic. And I don't remember the value that I used to multiply that. I mean, it was, I've changed it over the years to reflect the market, but the market's been so depressing the last couple of years, I haven't really bothered with it. Okay? Now, we are on our way back up, just for everybody to, so we don't have to stick with that. But I love that little example, real world example on how to gain control of the breeding and calving season. This is what we did. And you don't have to use MGA if you don't want to. You can put a CIDR device in. Okay, when I was here, actually, Mike Day and I were involved with the FDA approval of the CIDRs. Okay, so either one of those for 7 days right before you turn the bull out. Here's MGA, it's just an example of it. Here it's in a pellet form. It was developed in the 50s to suppress estrus in feedlot heifers, because feedlot heifers that come in heat lose weight, and they're not economical. So they wanted something to suppress heat. Well, MGA also happens to induce heat in an anestrus female. So if you got a cow that's not started to cycle yet after she's calved, you feed her MGA, it makes her think that she should be cycling, and it will induce her to calve. Again, a lot of that work we did up here when I was at Ohio State with Mike. Need consistent intake, right? Because if they're not eating it, it's not working. That's a pretty logical deal. All right, you can get it in nearly every form. This is a pellet form. You can get it in the raw powder. You can get it in a range cube, which is a big protein pellet. You can get your feedlot to mix it for you in just your regular complete feed. Lots of different ways to provide it. Okay? Just make sure that every cow's eating it. Normally you need about 2 feet of bunk space. If you don't want to feed your cows, if you don't want to take that risk, you can put a CIDR device in. CIDR stands for Controlled Internal Drug Release. It's this T-shaped plastic device. The white is the hormone. Okay, it's called progesterone. It's the same hormone, same form of the same hormone as MGA. Here, though, it's the natural form, and when you put it in the cow, it's at natural level. So it's the perfect imitator of what goes on in that cow, because her brain sees the natural form of the hormone at natural levels. So it's completely normal. Yes, sir. You can. Two times in a row. You can use them this spring and next spring, but not the spring after. Okay? 5 times more potent than MGA. It does require you to get the cattle up. put the CIDR device in, you bend those wings up, you stick it in that tube, you put some lube on it, you wipe the vulva off, you go up, down into the anterior vagina, then you push the plunger, it sticks that out, it catches on the vaginal walls, you pull the applicator out, the string hangs out the vulva, the body fluids soak up the hormone, and when you're ready for the cow to come and heat, you pull the string. Okay? I'll show you some data on some stuff you can do with the CIDR device. It's going to blow your mind. Okay? So what are we doing when we're looking at, now again, up here, y'all got good breeding and calving season, so sometimes this doesn't resonate well with my Kentucky folks. But here we got cows that are pregnant, and here's this blue cow, the cow that calved March 1st. She's an estrus for 60 days, so she comes in heat here, and then every 20 days after that, and I'm turning bulls out on May 20th. So she's got a really good opportunity to breed, right? She had her first heat on May 1st, before we turned the bull out. And if she doesn't conceive there, she's got another great shot. Here in July and August, we have heat stress issues. Y'all might not have that. We have heat stress issues, but she's got a great opportunity to get pregnant. This cow that calves here, she starts cycling June 1st. As long as we don't have early heat, she's got a pretty good opportunity. But this old gal that calved on May 1st, she doesn't start cycling until July 1st. We got a pretty rough time getting that rascal bred. Okay, so what we use the MGA and the CIDR device to do is to catch all these up and put them all on the same day. Because believe it or not, you can get that cow to come in heat right here. I'll show you that data. And so now, that's what your heat profiles look like instead of the scattered out. And 60 days of an estrus is pretty good. That's pretty short, right, Dean? Okay, what if it's a little bit longer? Well, at 70 days, you get even fewer opportunities to get those cattle pregnant if you don't synchronize. And so we're putting that MGA or that CIDR device in right here, right before the start of that first breeding season, and that gets us more opportunities for cows to get pregnant, and certainly more opportunity. You can just count the number of signs there, right? There's more opportunity for them rascals to get pregnant early. This is some data that we collected, 2,000 cows. Each farm had both the control and the treated, okay? We had a 10% increase in preg rate and a 30% increase in the percentage of cows that calved in the first 30 days, okay? First thing people always ask me, well, how many bulls did you turn out? Because you got all them cows coming in heat at the same time now, okay? Well, we thought about that, right? We thought about that. We had bull to cow ratios as low as 1 to 23 and as high as 1 to 42. Didn't see any difference. Okay? We had one guy turned a 15-month-old bull that's never bred a cow out with 40 synchronized heifers. That's stupid. And I told him he was stupid. Right? Okay, here, those bulls were experienced bulls that passed the BSE and had at least a 35-centimeter scrotum. We stacked the deck in our favor. Okay, I'm not going to turn out a bull that doesn't know what the Sam Healy's doing with 30-centimeter scrotum that has a chance to breed 2 cows. Okay? Does a really nice job as long as you use your head with your bull to cow, with your bulls and how you're turning your bulls out. Okay, a great question. So, I can't go backwards. The 90% is at the end, that's pregnancy rate at the end of the breeding season, which was 70 days long. And the 78 was how many of them calved in the first month. Great question. The question was, what happens if you feed MGA or put the CIDR device into a pregnant cow? It's the same hormone. Okay, the hormone that's keeping that cow pregnant is the hormone that you're giving them. So as long as you're not expecting her to calve in that 7-day window that you're feeding it, it's not going to affect her at all. And we've actually done the studies. You can feed MGA to a bull. You can't really put a CIDR in a bull, right? Okay? You can feed you can feed MGA to a bull, Doesn't bother him. Doesn't bother his hormone levels. Doesn't bother his ability to pass the BSE. Doesn't bother him at all. Okay, we did that work. You can feed it to calves. It's actually growth promoting. Okay? You can feed it to calves. You can feed it to bulls. You can feed it to pregnant cows. You can feed it to cycling cows. Doesn't help them that much. You can feed it to and estrus cows, and it really helps them. It was a great question. Did a little bit of economics. Had one farm with 108 cows. Half of them got MGA, half of them got corn before we turned the bull out, just to prove that it wasn't feed. Okay? 15% more of these cows got pregnant. They were 17 days older, the calves born out of this group, and weighed 40 more pounds at weaning because they were older. Older calves weigh more. At that time, now this was about 17, 18 years ago, MGA for 7 days was $3 a cow. It's $7 or $8 a cow now. Okay? We got 31,000 pounds out of that group. We weaned 24,000 and a half pounds out of that group. Okay? 146.20 was the average steer and heifer price in Kentucky about a month ago for those 5 weight calves. It was $1.35 2 weeks ago. I got the market report yesterday. Didn't look at it. Okay, but anyway, you multiply over, divide by 54, subtract those two, it's about $180 increased return. Tens of thousands of cows and hundreds of herds we've done these strategies with in Kentucky. We always make at least $100. Sometimes, particularly when the cattle prices were highest 4 or 5 years ago, we were making $250, $300 extra. Okay, by controlling how many calves and increasing our weaning weight because we have more older calves. One thing as we were going through this, that was whole herd feeding, right? Because that was just the easy thing to do. Let's just feed everything. We kind of figured out we don't need to feed everything because everything don't need to be fed, or we don't need to put CIDR in everything. So a mature cow, 3+, in good flesh, body condition score 5+. The calves March 1st, and you're turning the bull out on May 20th. She ain't broke. She don't need to be fixed. She's got a really good chance to breed early, even if we don't do anything. So then we got to think of, well, shoot, man, if she ain't broke and we don't need to fix her, why are we giving her? Why are we giving her? Why are we wasting money on her? Okay? So what we did after that, we went to Jackson County, 150 cows calving over a 4-month window. We put CIDR devices in all the cows that were late calving and all 2-year-olds. I consider all 2-year-olds broke. They just broke. And they all need fixing. Okay? Turn the bull out for 70 days, which is normal for us. Okay? 141 of them got pregnant, 113 of them calved in the first 30 days. I was pretty pleased with the 2-year-olds. Got 17 of them to calve in the first 30 days and 22 overall calved. You're going to look at this and say, man, that's just 8 cows. That don't mean nothing. We've got over 200 cows on this now. I leave it in this form because one of our really good agents made this table, and it's really easy to follow for folks. Okay? This guy, the farmer that we worked with here, calved in February and March. All right, he starts row cropping, and he didn't have time to be calving cows out in April and May, and they were pain in his rear, and he wanted to get everything done February, March. Okay, first year, 2013, he had some cows that were trickling on, and he wanted to move them up. He didn't want to sell them. At the end of April, we had those 4 cows calve. May 14th, we put a CIDR device in them for 7 days, turned them out with a bull. So he had a calving pasture and a breeding pasture. Calved. 2 weeks later, CIDR. Pull the CIDR out, move them over to the breeding pasture with all the other cows. Same thing at the end of May. June 17th here because it was raining on the 14th. Okay? We've evolved. I'm not going to work in the rain if I don't have to, right? If I have to, fine. But anyway, this is when they calve the next year. You can see we moved all of them but one up. Okay, she didn't read the book. Again, we've done this protocol in over 200 cows where we come in 2 to 3 weeks after calving, put a CIDR device in for 7 days, turn them out with a bull. 80% of the time, we move them up about 35 days. So you move them up a month. So the Junes become Mays, the Mays become Aprils, the Aprils become Marches. And you can move them up that way. Okay? In this particular trial, he had 630 additional pounds, $901 return because the CIDRs, he had 8 CIDRs and they were $11 a pop at that time. Did not count labor. He's a full-time farmer, so, you know, labor don't count, right? It's a joke. How do I get to where I'm maximizing my weaning percent? Again, I'm just going to brush over a lot of this. Body condition score, at least 5. I prefer 6. We're going to look at body condition scores and gaining some weight by the start of the breeding season. Got to feed that quality mineral. Got to vaccinate again. Use a modified live. At least 30 days. In your heifers, I'd back it up to 45. Strategic deworming, which means you're thin and young cows. And then crossbreeding. Control estrus, which we just talked about. Remove the bull at some point. Okay? All right? And observe your calves closely. Make sure you lose fewer calves. I'm going to go through this pretty quick. Okay, I got 2 examples of farms and just more kind of fun stuff we do. I enjoy this, and so I tend to spend more time than I need to, but I've been told I got to be faster. Yep. So in Kentucky, our heat stress starts June 20th. Our conception rate, which is the percentage of females that get pregnant on one heat. So if she's in heat, what percent of a chance do I have to get her pregnant? We go from about 60% to 30%. So from June 20th till October 1st, I got a 30% chance to get her pregnant. And so what happens, leave that bull in, we get a 30% chance, but it takes 150 days to have a 90% chance she'll get pregnant. And so we end up just dragging on and on and on and on and on. And now we got cows calving over a 6-month window, and it's impossible to get good groups together and to get our management together to make sure that our health is perfect, our nutrition is perfect, and we're managing in an efficient manner. Okay? So if you left the bull in and she got pregnant and she was bred late, and you preg check her, and you sell her as a late bred cow, shit, I don't care. That's a great marketing plan for your cows, right? That is a great marketing plan, selling a bred cow instead of an open cow. Okay, but the thing is you got to sell her, because if she's calving in July for you, she's not making you money. Anybody in here calving a fall? She'd be an early fall calver, right? You know, she'd calve in July. You'd wait and turn that bull in after Thanksgiving, and she'll be good for a fall calver. And you'll see as we go through this that death loss typically decreases when you change your breeding and calving season. This old boy at 25, 308. I'm going to go through this quick, okay? Went through these cows, sold a bull when we got there, sold 2 open cows, changed to a 90-day season, and he built a bull pen. You can see the plan, okay? They were held for spring, put CIDR devices in. They were held for fall, so he went to 2 split, fed those cows MGA, sold. That should be up here. Sold both cows that did not calve. So he went from that to this in the 1 year. So here he was selling 22 singles. Now he's at least got 1 group. Even if we split them 8 steers, 8 heifers, he's got 1 group of 5, right? 5 steers, and if he's selling heifers, he's got 2 groups. In the spring in Kentucky, we always got that cow. Okay? That one rascal that does that, we rolled her down the next year into that group and got along really well. So that's where we went in 2 years. He bought 12 bred cows, but they didn't end up actually all being bred. Okay, so that messed with the numbers a little bit. But that's a true story, and that happens, okay? It's a true story, and that happens. The whole point is you can see how you can gain control. That's real numbers, real data. We could throw up weaning weights and all that stuff, but that's the point. Okay? Stockyard data from down in Bluegrass, to 7 years worth of data trying to figure out the difference between selling a single and selling one group of 5, 10, every dot is 5 calves. So if you're able to put 5 calves together in a like group, did you get a marketing advantage? The single to 5 is $11. The single to 10 is $15. Calves didn't change. We just had more of them, and they gave us more money for them. If I could back up, I would go back and show you, okay, how that guy went from selling all singles to now being able to sell in groups, even if they're small groups, and he only had 25 cows. Okay? Farm 2, calved over a 342-day window. 2 cows didn't calve, 3 of them died. 13 calves out of 17 cows. You're thinking, well, wait a minute, I can do math. You got one going, something's wrong here. There's one extra. Well, that doggone cow calved again in December, and I counted her. Okay? I mean, she ought to get credit for that, right? Pulled a bull, came in on March 1st, did the whole cow thing where we evaluated everything. One of those calved in December and calved again here. When she weaned that calf, we sold her. This guy wanted to go to all fall breeding, so we just held them for fall. We did not have a bull. One of those cows was done, we sold her. One of those cows was done, we put a CIDR in the other one and then turned her out with a bull. Sold both of those. Sold both of those. Ended up selling 6 done cows, bought 2 replacement heifers. 12 of them, so those plus what was left here, minus those 2, fixed time AI. We used the co-sync system for fixed time AI with a CIDR. So we gave GnRH, put a CIDR in, gave them Lutalice, prostaglandin. We pulled the CIDR out, time AI at 66 hours. Okay? That's what we did the first year. So we went from that mess to that. And like, well, man, he's only got 13 cows. Well, you'll see what happens. I'll be honest with you, he hated cattle. In 2015, he hated his cows. He wanted to sell them. His ag agent talked him into doing something different, and let's just see if we can make it better. He kind of liked that. Now he's calving in a 60-day window. He didn't have any of them die. 1 cow that was open. Bought 5 more. He bought them because, hey, you know, it's not so bad. Those 2 late calving cows got a CIDR in instead of the AI, and all the rest of them were AI'd. Okay? He did not sell that cow against my advice because in 2016 our cold cow prices were actually pretty good. That cow did not get pregnant. The same cow did not get pregnant. So we carried her over. But now we got 18 cows. He went from a 60-day window to a 46-day window. Okay? One of those cows was the same cow from the year before, which happens actually more often than you'd think. 1 calf died, and Bart said it's his own fault, you know. So I'm glad he fessed up to it. We did have a set of twins. Sold those 2 open cows that time. Kept 7. He learned. Kept 7 replacements because he's enjoying it now. It's a little better, a little different deal. Time day AI on 22 head. Less than 50-day window, okay? We had some issues with abortion here. So we actually had preg-checked all of them pregnant. And I thought these numbers were going to be just flat out phenomenal. 3 of them aborted. Okay? So on that farm, after we figured out that they had aborted, we started with the modified live on the heifers. I don't have the 2019 year data, but we haven't had the abortion problems this year that we did. Sold 5 done cows. He bought 7 more heifers, sold 2 open cows. When we first got there, there was Lemmy Cross cows. Their average weight was just under 1,700 pounds, okay? His average weight this year on body condition score 5 to 5.5 cows, 5 to 5.5 was 1,300 pounds. Pretty good efficiency. I'll let you guys look through all that. Hopefully I went through that fast enough. That's a really good question. So for the ones that we're holding that calved in the spring and we're holding them over, it's our pasture costs. Okay, and so you're going to be on a 4-month window. You'll be looking at $100 to $120, give or take, depending on how much you value your pasture at, right? Okay. If you're holding them over the winter, depends on your supplemental feed costs. If you're just feeding hay, which those cows would just need hay then because they're open and they don't need to put on that much weight. But if you're supplementing them, your cost could be up in the $150 range, right? Depending on what you're feeding them. It's a good question. One of the things I always get is, what does Sam Hill do? I do with the bull. He just told me, you know, pull him eventually. Well, what do I do with him? Well, how much does he cost? And how much do your pregnancies cost? Because really you got to figure out what you got in him and what you got in each of those calves before you can figure out how to do something better. You say, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, hopefully it will when we get done. Average purchase price from $2,000 to $5,000. Now I know you guys up here will pay $5,000 for a bull, but we only pay about $2,000 for most of ours. So I had to put a whole range in now for that, you know, because you can't give a bull away in Kentucky. Okay. His salvage value is an 1,800-pound bull at 90 cents a pound. That's an exaggeration in today's market, but that's historically what we typically get. The economist threw all those numbers down in there for me, so it's costing you out of pocket $625. Doesn't matter how much your purchase price was, about $625 to maintain a bull every year. Since our money costs, okay, this total fixed cost is a reflection of the cost of our money, okay? And so when we add that with that, we get that. So your total cost per year are reflective of your input costs and your maintenance costs. So how much is that costing us per pregnancy? So again, I got that up here. Now we got how many cows you got, 15 to 50, and what your pregnancy rate is, because if that old boy is getting his job done more often, he costs you less, right? The more cows he breeds and the more pregnant cows he gets, the less it costs you. Okay, so if you're looking at 80%, 20 cows, $2,000 bull, it's $60 a pregnancy. Okay? The cheapest we got is $2,000 bull and 50 cows. Down here at 90%. In Kentucky, we're usually running right in this 80 to 85 window. Okay? If we get our better guys are running 85, you're looking at 20 to 25, and somewhere in this range. I mean, our guys will pay $2,500 to $3,000 for a bull for the most part. So we're looking at $50 to $75, which we just bounce that up just a little bit right there. Yeah, the comment was they're not near as good as Ohio bulls. Yeah, if you're not using AI, I mean, a lot of seed stock use a lot of AI. If you're not using AI, then, you know, you should be able to generate a little bit more revenue by spending more money on your herd bull. We have several folks that I deal with in Kentucky that are seed stock producers that spend really good money on their herd bulls, and you know, they kind of have to do it that way in some regards because, I mean, sometimes they don't get much for their bulls, and it's a little bit cheaper for natural service. I'm not advocating you just spend $2,000 for a bull. It costs you less on your per pregnancy, but you know, a lot of times you get what you pay for, right? So what do I do with that bull? Well, build a bull pen. You could do that. I just threw down some costs there. Problem is that daily management for 4 to 6 months, right? That's really, this is what prevents bullpens from getting built, not the cost. What about leasing a bull? Okay, it's hard to find bull leases. There's a variety of reasons for that. Okay, hard to find bull leases. But ideally, if you think about it, you need that bull for about 70 days. You don't need him for 365. And you're paying for him for 365 days when you need him 70. It's kind of like a timeshare, right? Okay, he's a timeshare. That's your timeshare. You're paying for him for the rest of your life, and you get to use him 1 week. Okay? How much can you afford to pay? Well, go back to those tables. Your cost per pregnancy, the normal farm is between $50 and $75 a cow. Okay? $400 to $800 per 2 to 3 months would be a pretty good deal. Oh, I actually had that in there. Here's something that I'm kind of running across folks right now that they look at me funny. But if you do the math, it works out. What's wrong with buying a bull and then selling him? I mean, I need him May 20th to August the 1st. So I'll buy a bull that passes the BSC on May 1st, give him a little bit of an adjustment period, right? Turn him out with my cows, take him off, put a little bit of flesh back on him, and sell him. Maybe we paid $2,500 for him. It cost us $100 to keep him on pasture for that time. Got $1,800 salvage value out of him. Well, my math was not very good there, was it? Because that minus that is $700, not $800. Okay, that's why I'm a biologist, I guess. But anyway, even if that was $1,700, and so that was $800. Oh, plus 100. There we go. All right, $800. Well, you got 20 cows. Okay, it's $40 a pop. I ain't that good at buying and selling. Okay. Maybe it's $1,000. So it's $50. You're still in the range and you're not dealing with the bull. Okay, well, what if it's $1,500? Okay, so now you're at $75. You're still in the range and you're not dealing with a stupid bull. Right? Just a thought. At home, Dad had 350 cows and we had a pile of bulls. My cousin Al decided he was going to get in the cattle business. We calved in the fall, he calved in the spring. For him coming over and helping us when we worked cows, he got to use Dad's bulls. That's a pretty good deal for both of us. Okay, so if you got a neighbor that's calving in one season and you're calving in another, you can keep him 6, you can keep him 6. Okay? I don't care where you keep him. I just care that your breeding and calving season is controlled. So after you get it corrected, I don't care if you leave him in there. Preg check him. Keep the ones that are going to calve when you want them to. Sell the bred cows that aren't going to calve in your window to your neighbor because he calves year round. Right? And I have to give lutalize or some form of prostaglandin if you're leaving that bull in to make sure that your heifers, you're not going to be calving any 15-month-old heifers, okay? I've done that before. Not a fan. Questions on that real quick? I promise I'm about done. Part of what we're trying to talk about is efficiency, okay? And once we get our management protocols in place, we need to start looking at ways to minimize feed costs and maximize our productivity, or at least to get that balance where we're getting more for what we're feeding that cow. Okay? Most people know that the cow weight and their ability to milk dictates how much feed they're going to eat. And our objective is to get the same product on less feed. 1,600 pound cow versus 1,200 pound cow. Yearly total feed consumption. 1,600 pound cow eats over a ton more feed a year. If she happens to milk heavy, add a little bit more. How do we get control of cow size and efficiency of production? Our only option is genetic selection and culling, which I consider selection. Natural service. You can certainly do it with natural service. You got to identify a seed stock producer that emphasizes efficiency, commit very heavy to culling, and be committed to the long term, because it's very difficult to get it done in just 2 years. Okay? If you want to move a little faster, you incorporate AI, because you can use proven genetics and exactly what you want and exactly what you need. It's easier to implement a very efficient system. You have less risk and much faster change. Is it profitable? Lots of data. This is the best. 1,200 cows out of 8 herds. Half of them got fixed time to AI, natural service. The other half got natural service. Looked at the partial budgets, but this is the bottom line. Made them $50 more per cow in the short term, just based upon weaning performance. They had more calves that weighed more. There's a long-term impact. The greatest benefits of AI are not right now. The greatest benefit of AI is when that heifer that you saved as a replacement becomes a productive cow 4 years from now when she's born, 5 years from when you bred her. Okay? That's the important part. That data is difficult to collect, so we did a field study. It's a 10-year project that we just finished. Okay? I don't have a control. I didn't have a farm that we just let go. One farm was a large farm, one farm was a normal farm. We chose maternally oriented genetics. That was Angus Hereford. That's what fit their environment and their nutrient supply. That's also what fit our marketing plan. They were selling everything after a backgrounded period. Okay, so they were selling 7-weight steers in our CPH program, which is our verified preconditioned health thing. Okay. To maximize our opportunity for reproductive success, we crossbred and we did fixed time to AI with the same protocol we talked about before. The co-sync with the CIDR, which is cisterellin when you put the CIDR in, luteolized when you pull the CIDR out, 66 hours later, time AI. Our goal is to increase the pounds of calf wean per cow exposed, okay, per pound of cow exposed, not per cow exposed. So we looked at the mature cow weights, okay, and we kept those, and we wanted to reduce our calving season. This is what we started off with, okay. The average size farm, 23 cows. The large farm, 153 cows. You can see the weaning percent differences and the weaning weight differences. Percent body weight weaned per cow exposed. This old boy only weaning 20% of his cow's body weight. Okay? Average farm, those cows started off at about 17 and a half. The larger farm, they were almost 1,600. And over time, this is years, over time we took them down, and now this should be extended out to here. We are about 1,350 pounds. Like, well, man, that's a lot heavier than what everybody tells me. Well, they're in condition score 6 and a half. Okay? So a 1,350 pound condition score 6 cow is a 1,250 to 1,275 pound condition score 5 cow, which is where we have everything. And I'll be honest with you, in Kentucky, you can't hardly go much smaller than that. when you're looking at trying to market to calves. Pounds of calf wean per cow exposed, of course, went up quite a bit. We went from 325 to about 430 or 40 here. Okay, really nice increases in both of them. That's pounds of calf wean per cow exposed. Okay, so we're dividing the open cows into that, so that makes that look smaller. Okay. Percent body weight weaned per cow exposed. So remember, we went from 1,700 pound cows to 1,350 pound cows, and our calf weaning weights went up. Okay? So our efficiency went up almost 10% on both farms. Just went real quick through that. I probably blew all my time, Alan. Efficiency is the key to profitability, particularly in our low market situations. If you build an efficient herd and the market goes up, you make more. That's always good. Okay? Synchronization is a necessary tool, whether you're AIing or using natural service. Okay? It is a necessary tool. If you want your cows, if you want to control calving in your cows, you have to control breeding. If you're controlling breeding, you have to control estrus, because it all goes hand in hand. Okay? It just doesn't magically happen. You gotta manage it. You gotta apply your tools and control it. Okay? AI is an incredible tool. Okay? If you're looking to make maximum efficiency to your beef cattle operations, AI is a phenomenal tool. Requires some dedication and patience, because your real effect is 5 years from the day you breed that cow. Okay? You'll get some benefit early. Your real benefit is later. The large farm in that deal had 147 cows when we started. Last year we bred just a little over 200. He's got the same feed system, the same number of acres, the same everything. So imagine how much more efficient he is per acre, because he is calving out, breeding 60 more cows now than he did then. Okay? And one of the things that I've found out is when you make life a little simpler and maybe you're making a little bit more money, you have the tendency to want to expand and you want to do a little bit more. Okay? And so that's one of the things that we found from our farm research that I think is really interesting about human psychology, is when it's not as big a pain in the butt, we want to do it a little bit more.